Hold down the mouse button to aim the flipendo spell. Release the button to cast the spell. Try it on that barrel.
Yeah, if you say so. Oh, forget the controls for a sec. Here we go. I guess we better continue down here. See, Professor Quirrell is a bit of an enigma. He kind of just leaves you to do these things, but he'll pop up a couple of times throughout this challenge, which is the Flipendo challenge. There's one for every spell. In fact, I think he's down here. Yeah, he's beating us to it once again.
Cast your Flipendo spell at the switch on the wall to open
The door!
Flipendo affects all sorts of things, such as this cauldron. Knock it over, Mr. Potter.
You may ask yourself, what is the point of knocking over a cauldron? Once again, we will be extortioned by Fred and George for Bertie Bott's Every Flavour Beans. That was appalling. There we go. And obviously we need beans to pay the tax and get our wizard card reward. There's another cauldron. So we go onwards towards our happy little floating star, which is a challenge star. He's not actually told us that, but if you collect them during the challenge, of which there's one for every spell, you get house points. And I'm going to have to make up for Hermione's woeful shortfall in contributions.
Well done. Now, go on and collect your challenge stars. I'll meet you further on.
Yep, you see him about halfway through this level and then once again at the end, but for the most part we'll be on our own. The environments here are so wonderful. Look how trippy all these colours are. It's must have a black light. And then we go to a carpet that looks like it's as old as Tutankhamun or some shit.
Hello, Harry Potter. I am nearly Headless Nick, the Gryffindor House ghost. Now, this is a save game book. When you touch it, your game will automatically be saved.
What is he doing with his left hand?
The game will restart from this point.
You know, he's massaging his side. He must have appendicitis. Although seeing as his head's come off, that's like the least of his worries, really. Lovely to see you, Nick. What you got to remember is you can generally vandalise much of the school for beans, which I think you can do. You do it in front of like the teachers and things; they don't get mad. But as Nick was saying, this is the way of saving if you haven't completed a level, and I just have to do this. This was a glitch that all the kids always knew. He doesn't actually go anywhere. He just kind of sits there. It's probably where he has kind of special private time in that little hole, because no one would know it was there. Assuming ghosts do that. Anyway, moving on. I think Professor Quirrell's just around here, actually. Yeah, he's just down there. It looks quite creepy, actually. But, he's a very nice chap for someone who's got Voldemort sticking out the back of his head. I suppose it's all an act. Anyway, when you're playing this game, you have to get used to flipendoing everything to open little secret doors and switches. Pretty much all just in the pursuit of these beans. These goddamn beans that... I mean, from their colour, you can only judge there's so many E numbers in them. Our government would never allow it, but the Ministry of Magic does seem rather gung-ho on matters like this.
Knock it out of the way.
Yeah, so he'll briefly tell us that. I mean, I think we can figure these things out for ourselves now. Having learnt Flipendo, a great deal of this game is now going to become pushing blocks around and jumping. To attend Hogwarts, even at the age of 11, you have to be quite a prolific athlete. There's plenty of jumping to be done, much of which your life will depend on, as we'll later discover. because the thing with these challenges is, towards the end, you get in situations which, you know, they are life or death situations. I think it's meant to be the case that Harry never dies, he just faints, but, you know, he dies, definitely. Some of the drops that your teachers have you jumping across, which is... It's really quite sadist, in fact, some of the things they'll make you do. I was about to say, I think the worst is Professor Flitwick, who seems an awfully mild-mannered fellow, but his is quite bad. But already I'm eating my words, because I'm suddenly remembering Professor Snape's challenge, which is... you wouldn't get Satan to do it. It's that awful. So many opportunities for premature student death, but that's Snape for you, I suppose. How's that for some ominous music? So, this is one of those student death situations I refer to, where you're having to jump above a pit that could be kind of endless, but it's filled with this kind of viscous kind of blue goo, which I think in a example of quintessential childish wit, I think I labelled Cornish Pixie Jizz at some point, which seems an apt description. You know, it's blue and gooey, and you know, if they do stuff like that, which I'm sure they do, well, I'm not sure, but I expect so, then you imagine this is what it would look like. I almost fell in the Cornish Pixie spunk. That was close. But yeah, so it's stuff like this that pretty much all the teachers without fail like making you do. I think maybe Professor Sprout is a bit cut. No, she's not actually. Now that I think about it, she definitely isn't. But Snape's will be by far the worst, as we shall see. I mean, having played this game so many times, I know all the little places you gotta push blocks and things. Most of the time you'll just find beans or challenge stars, but as the game goes on, particularly, you start to find secret wizard cards. Probably about 2/3 of them you find, and the other third Fred and George trade with you. But it's worth knowing where they all are. This is quite a long segment of... God, that was a horrible noise. I mean, the sort of ambient noises are quite unsettling in this game. There's weird kind of screams from the darkness. Sort of like that, but we've pretty much completed this side of the challenge. We're about to enter a more welcoming area. In fact, I think it's pretty much the end of the challenge. They're so much shorter than they felt as a child. It certainly took me hours.
This is a gnome, Mr. Potter. They like to pester young wizards. Knock him on his backside to complete the challenge. They move quickly and can be quite a nuisance.
No shit, Teach. Gnomes are probably the biggest pain in the ass in this game. I mean, it really is a kid's game, so that's not saying much. They're not difficult to deal with, but I mean, when you're sort of 7, as a guess, and you have absolutely no motor neuron skills, they're quite difficult to hit, and if they hit you, they steal your beans. They're kind of like miniature gypsies, and they just come along and sort of pikey beans off you, but anyway, they weren't the trouble.
Congratulations, Mr. Potter. You completed the challenge.
He is happy.
You collected all the challenge stars. 20 points for Gryffindor. Now, hurry on to broomstick practice.
The teachers all somehow know your timetable,
Harry, Ron,
down to a T.
talked about their exciting first days at Hogwarts.
And the Gryffindor common room is completely empty.
Gringotts Wizard Bank.
Anyway, we're about to move on to the flying lesson, so I'm going to call it an end to this episode there, and then move on to that. So I'll see you in a moment.